I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
AEW Dynamite was on the air, and let me tell you, this show was bad. This show was not good. It was very boring and uninteresting. Nothing happened on this show. We got 8 matches. I kid you not. We got 8 matches in 2 hours and 15 minutes. Bro, what the hell is going on in AEW? This makes no sense. I remember like when NXT used to do like 8 matches back when it was NXT 2.0, but those matches were like short and the crowd was invested. This crowd here in Albuquerque, New Mexico didn't really even care about anything on this card. This show was bad. It was bad. It was extremely bad. Awful. We didn't have any promo segments hardly. We did have a promo, however, that, was at the end of the show, which involved Mark Briscoe. It's like, what in the world is going on here? We had very little to no backstage segments outside of, Edge and Christian and MJF and Don Callis. And John Moxley and the Death Riders. Outside of that, it's like we got nothing but wrestling on this show, and it's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Knowing that this weekend is going to be full of wrestling. Night of Champions is on Saturday. It's the only standalone pay-per-view for Saturday. And we've got not 1, not 2, but 3 pay-per-views. One for AEW, which is Forbidden Door. The second, TNA, which is Slammiversary, and the third is NXT for Great American Bash. It is way too much. That's overkill. And I've checked the Slammiversary card out. It's 9 matches. They're probably going to more than likely add another match to the card, which is going to result in 10 matches. That's insane. And then also, I checked the Forbidden Door card. That's going to be like 10 matches, so that's 20 right there. And then NXT is doing 7 matches for Great American Bash. That's 27 fucking matches in one night. Bro, I'm not doing that. So I'm going to say it off the rip. I will not be doing a Forbidden Door review at all. However, I will watch the show, but I am not going to do a review of Forbidden Door. That is way too much, and that's not fair to me. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It makes no sense. At least TNA has enough sense to move their show earlier on in the day. It's coming on at 4, so it shouldn't really be a problem with anything. If anything, their show should end either by 7 or a little bit after 7, so there's not going to be that much of an overlap. And if you look at NXT, it'll be fine because it's going to be on the CW with no interference at all, which is great. And I think the show should be off the air by about either 9:30 or 10. So it wouldn't even really go head-to-head with Forbidden Door too much. But it is what it is, man. But I've decided already I'm not going to do Forbidden Door. I'm sorry, guys. It's just way too much. That's way too much wrestling. And then, I would have done Forbidden Door if Forbidden Door would have been on, like, Saturday. Right? Like, this is what I think should have happened. So, Forbidden Door should have been either last week, last Saturday, or last Sunday. Or Forbidden Door should have been moved to the 27th, and in that way, that would have been fine because Night of Champions is going to take place earlier in the afternoon, that afternoon, on Saturday. It probably would have lasted about maybe 2.5, 3 hours maybe at best. It's over with by 4:30 at the latest, and then you have Forbidden Door come on at 8, and that to me would have been fine. And then Sunday could have been reserved for NXT and TNA, and I think that would have been fine too, because you still could have done TNA at 4, and you could have done NXT at 7. To me that's fine. You kind of split it down the middle, but to me it's just too much. It's entirely too much wrestling in one night. And for most people, unless you do pro wrestling reviews as a full-time gig and you're loaded and stuff, then you're fine. But for those of us who work, like yours truly, nah, man. Nah, we're not. And this is way too much. It's a work night. I mean, unless you're off or unless you go in like a second shift or whatever, then you're fine. But outside of that, man, please. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into AEW Dynamite from June the 24th, 2026. And we're going to also go over the predictions for Forbidden Door. All right. So we kicked the show off with the Death Riders. So John Moxley is giving the Death Riders a pep talk about not staying down and pro wrestling being the king of sports. The sport of kings and what they live for. Have your teammates back, and don't stop moving. So they begin to do a huddle type of thing, spinning huddle. Will Ospreay falls down, which is kind of funny. And then this leads us into the first match of the night. The Death Riders, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Willa Yuta, they defeated Brodito, Bandito, and Brody King, and Mystico. Who cares? I didn't give a damn about this at all. Whatever. I don't care. Moving right along, this leads us into the conglomeration. They were interviewed backstage by Renee Paquette. So Darby Allin says that he doesn't feel ready, but this is an opportunity for him to get MJF back. Roderick Strong says he hates MJF more than the Don Castagnoli because of what he did to his friend Adam. And I'm like, dude, that happened like well over a year ago. Why even bring this up? This isn't even like an issue. Adam Cole is probably done with pro wrestling. We haven't seen Adam Cole in at least over a year or close to a year. Orange Cassidy said that he's going to make sure everybody has backpacks, okay? Kyle O'Reilly, he rhetorically asked where Mark Briscoe is before informing us that he'll be in the ring tonight. And Orange Cassidy hangs back, and Renee asks if he's okay. And he hesitates by saying it's fine. And then, so whatever. I don't care about this. Moving on, we know this show sucks because Marina Shafir's on this show, and she's hot garbage. She just is. And her promo skills are awful. Oh my gosh. So Harley Cameron, she wins. She qualifies for the survival of the fittest match. So there's that. It is what it is. That's fine. I don't care. I really don't. Whatever. Although she was looking mighty good in that Supergirl outfit. Well, Superwoman outfit. She looked really fucking good. All right, moving on from that. This leads us into Will Ospreay. He defeated El Phantasmo, or his new name now is ELP. Whatever, who cares? Will wins via the Hidden Blade. Don't care. Moving on from that, this leads us into Swerve Strickland. He shows up. He defeats Daniel Garcia in a long-ass match. And he ends up winning via the Hidden Blade. Post-match, Swerve attacks Garcia. Will Ospreay makes the save. Him and Swerve begin the brawl. Then the Death Riders show up, and Swerve basically hauls ass. And him and Ospreay stare each other down, and then that was it. I don't care about this at all either. lame and a waste of time. Moving right along. This leads us into MJF and Don Callis. They're backstage. Kevin Knight promises to send Darby Allin back to the ER and demands a title shot after this is all over. MJF gives him the "yeah, sure, kid," which is kind of hilarious. Okada says bitch. Kyle Fletcher, I was about to say O'Reilly. Kyle Fletcher says the second that bell rings, he's going to show Tenosuke Takeshita why he's the chosen one. So, Don Callis is about to spotlight Andrade, but MJF cuts him off, hyping himself up and comparing his white-collar upbringing to blue-collar bitch Mark Briscoe. MJF acknowledges that he never kicked out of the J Driller, but says he's never had to, and he and Don Callis had put the greatest team ever assembled. So, for whatever reason, MJF notices Roppongi Vice, for whatever reason, their sorry ass to show up, and then Don Callis gets rid of them. MJF says that last week they had problems working together, cough, Andrade, and he wants Don to fix it. Don Callis then reveals a t-shirt with him and MJF. They're jacked to the gills in Speedos, and then they're doing a handshake, which was hilarious. It was hilarious. This was kind of funny. I actually liked this. Why? Because this show was garbage. It was garbage, man. This show was absolutely pathetic. 8 matches in 2 hours and 15 minutes. What the fuck? Man. I don't even know what to say, guys. I really don't. Just overkill. Damn. I wanted to gouge my eyes out with this next match. Zack Sabre Jr. defeats Jack Perry. I don't give a fuck about this. Moving right along. This leads us into yet another match. No rest for the weary. The Young Bucks, they defeated the Mighty No Neil and Bad Dude Tito and Mikey Nichols. So, whatever. I don't care. Post-match, TMDK that beat up the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega makes the save. He has a brief little brawl with Zack Sabre Jr., which looked like shit. So Omega gets on the mic, and he talks about their match, saying he's going to win, telling Zack Sabre Jr. to enjoy the next few days, because after Sunday, everyone's going to forget about him like they did last year, which is kind of hilarious, which is true, because Zack Sabre Jr. sucks. So Zack Sabre Jr. gets on the mic, and he responds by telling Kenny to try and stay out of hospital. He calls him darling. I'm like, what the hell? Whatever. Who cares? Moving on from that, we get a video package for Tekla versus Starlight Kid, which was pretty decent. All right, moving on from that, this leads us into another survival of the fittest qualifying match, which Prima Annunziata qualifies. She defeated Red Velvet. Red Velvet is quite good. She's improved leaps and bounds. I wish that she would get more time. She's just locked away in Ring of Honor, suffering away. Or from time to time, she's on Collision more than likely as well. But, man, Red Velvet needs to be on Dynamite. Man, I really do wish that she was in, like, NXT or TNA or something. Man, because she deserves so much better than this. It's sad. It really honestly is sad. I really do feel sad for Red Velvet. I do. I truly do, because she honestly deserves better. Like, she's good. She's very attractive. She's a decent promo, and her in-ring has improved. But, you know, whatever. You got to be one of Tony Khan's favorite toys to be used, and you have to pledge allegiance to AEW. Remember, guys, AEW is a fucking cult, and if you don't drink the juice, well, then you don't get used. That's what it is. you gotta drink the AEW juice, right? You gotta do a fucking blood sacrifice. So, you know. And if you don't do those two things, then you don't get used. You don't get used. Joking, of course. Just joking. Just doing a little dark humor. Moving on, this leads us into the Young Bucks. They were interviewed backstage by Renee Paquette. They said that they are on their way to the top, back to the top of the tag team division. And on Sunday, they're going to super kick that Forbidden Door down. So Edge and Christian, they show up. They're brawling with the dogs and everything else. And they have an awkward moment with the Bucks. They asked them how they were doing and everything. And then they continue to beat up the dogs. And then Clark Connors finds a makeup lady, uses her as a shield. Finley ends up using hairspray on the tag team champs. And then they end up choking out Edge and Christian with some production cables. And that was all she wrote. I don't give a fuck about this. I don't understand why the Young Bucks are still being pushed. Like they've done everything in AEW. So, whatever. I don't give a damn about this. Moving on, main event of the evening. Tenosuke Takeshita defeats Ricochet to retain the AEW International Championship. This match was a banger. Not really, though, but I mean, you know, I like Takeshita. Ricochet's okay. But Takeshita wins. Ricochet shouldn't even be in this position. We haven't seen Ricochet in probably over a month on Dynamite, really. Well, not really well, yeah, basically a month. I think he's been on Collision more than likely. I don't know. I don't care. And then we actually end the show with a promo by Mark Briscoe. So, Mark Briscoe, he shows up. He says, it's 12 men, 1 cage. And he and his buddies are ready to throw down and have some fun in Cali. He and his crew have a reputation in this kind of match. They got bodies, if you will. He calls back to the most recent Blood and Guts, where the conglomeration faced the Death Riders and actually won that match. That happened, I want to say, maybe a good 5, 6, 7 months ago, maybe. I can't remember when that happened. He said that night was all about the thrill of the fight and the thrill of the battle. But at Forbidden Door, implications are a bit higher and a bit more consequential. He said if his team is victorious at Forbidden Door, he gets a shot at the AEW World Championship against this coming year MJF. He says that Max is a spoiled-ass baby, but he's a grown-ass man. And MJF is a broken record, saying he's not championship material, and that's all right because this is America. You can have any opinion you want. But he'll state a fact real quick that the last time they faced one-on-one in this ring, he beat MJF's ass, and he'll do it again and pause. At Forbidden Door, he's walking shoulder to shoulder. Battlefield, shoulder to shoulder. With his brothers who would die for him, and he'd die for them. Who does Max got? The Don Callis family, some mighty talented individuals in there, but they don't give a damn about MJF, and if he caught fire, spontaneously combusted, if you will, he doubts Don Callis or the family would piss on him to put him out. So Don Callis shows up as a distraction, and MJF gets his hands on Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe goes for the J Driller. Then most of the guys in the match, they come out from Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, Okada, Kevin Knight, Darby, Jake Dole. They all come out and do their moves, basically. Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, they all come out. Andrade shows up as well. And then him and MJF, they butt heads and everything else. They have some words. MJF ends up bringing out the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Andrade's trying to hold Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe ducks. MJF basically hits hits Andrade. And Max yells on Andrade for getting in the way and calls him an idiot. And then finally, Mark Briscoe hits the J Driller on to MJF, and that was it. So this is fine, I guess. This ensures us that Team Mark Briscoe will end up winning anyway. So, there's that. Again, this show was boring. It was a waste of time. Didn't really care about it. Way, way too many matches on the show. 8 matches is overkill. And I don't know why it even occurred like that. Tony Khan just wants to book matches because that's all he can do and not give us any real story. But what are you going to do, really? So there is that. All right, let's get into predictions for Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door will take place on Sunday, June 28th, 2026. Live and in charge from San Jose, California. From the SAP Center. For wrestling, the venue can hold 18,300 people. I doubt that many people will show up. It'll probably be, I want to say maybe a good 7 to 8K people will show up probably. Probably 8K, maybe 85 at best will show up. So, there's that. We've got 10 matches on the card. So, like I said before, I'm not doing a Forbidden Door review. It's just too much for me. Again, I'll watch it, but I won't review it. So there's 10 matches on the card. And I don't really care about most of what's on this card outside of maybe the main event to see what type of dumb shit's going to go down for that. And outside of maybe Tekla and Starlight Kid, Mercedes and Maya World, and Swerve and Will Ospreay. All right, so let's just go into the non-physical matches first. Edge and Christian versus the Dogs, David Finlay, Clark Connors for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Edge and Christian are going to retain. Moving on from that, the Young Bucks, they're going to be in a triple threat tag team match. It's going to be the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson versus El Sky, which consists of Mystico and Masca Dorado versus Unbound Company, Shingo, Takagi, and Titan. I wouldn't be surprised in due time that Tony Khan snatches those guys up too. Right? I'm going to say the Bucks are going to win. Jon Moxley versus Bandito for the AEW Continental Championship. Jon Moxley's going to win. Why would he lose? Moving on from that, this leads us into Pac versus Shota Umino for the IWGP Global Championship, Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to say Pac wins, basically. It'd be kind of funny to give the Death Riders some gold, so, maybe that happens. Moving on, a match I'm looking forward to on this show. Tekla versus Starlight Kid for the AEW World Championship, Women's World Championship. Tekla's going to obviously retain. Moving on from that, Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. Kenny Omega's going to win. Who really cares? Now let's go on to the Owen for the women. It's going to be in the final. It's going to be Mercedes Moné versus Maya World. The winner of that is going to receive a shot at the AEW Women's World Championship at All In. And we know Mercedes Moné is going to win hands down. So Tekla's reign is coming to an end, and there is that. All right, the men's Owen Hart Cup final. The winner of that receives an AEW World Championship at All In. Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Ospreay's going to win, obviously, so, there's that. And then the main event of the evening, the 12-man steel cage. Team Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, Takeshi and Darby Allin versus MJF and the Don Cost family. MJF, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Dick Dole, Okada, and Andrade. If Mark Briscoe's team wins, he'll earn a shot at the AEW World Championship at MJF. Team Mark Briscoe is going to win. Why would they lose here? I would imagine that maybe Mark Briscoe will get his title shot in July. Redemption takes place on July 26th. So it's going to be a month before, almost a month before All In. So that's cool there. I would imagine we could do my bad. We could do Briscoe and MJF maybe 2 weeks before Redemption. And I think that makes sense. You do it there. You give us another 2-week build of it. Give us like a couple of promo segments and stuff between the two again. And then, give us the match on a random Dynamite. And I think that's what they're going to end up doing there. And that's where they're going to have MJF retain. And I do think that MJF will lose come Redemption to Kenny Omega. I think what they're going to end up doing, or what they should do, is do Andrade versus MJF at All In. I think that would be a tremendous match. That would be very good. Because I just feel that they're going to do MJF and... my bad. I feel like they're going to do Ospreay and Omega 3. So, there's that. But those are my predictions. All in all, this show was hot garbage. Forbidden Door should be okay. Again, I'm not going to review it. It's just too much wrestling going on in one night. And I really care more about TNA and NXT. Because TNA is basically having their version of SummerSlam. That's what Slammiversary is. It's their version of SummerSlam. So that's a massive show for them. That's like their second biggest show of the year for them. And I've always been the fan of the Great American Bash when NXT's done it. Because sometimes it's taking place in July. And sometimes it's taking place in June. So there's that. And I guess... Forbidden Door will be the odd man out, basically. So AEW will be the odd man out, so whatever. But it is what it is. I'm still going to watch it, but it's just too much wrestling for one night. But what did you guys think of Dynamite, and what are your predictions for Forbidden Door? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.